Hi there, Pastor Padre here, introducing the first video Padrecast. And this is going to go over basically the first two sports titles released this year and how reviewers have treated them. MLB Front Office Manager and 3-on-3 NHL Arcade. And as we've seen before, sports titles aren't always reviewed fairly and aren't always reviewed thoroughly. And I think we already have a case of that this year with one of these titles. And on the other one, it looks like they got things right. So feel free to let me know what you think of this. Just first go through. We'll see how everyone reacts to it, and I look forward to doing different content along these lines in the future. All right, thanks.
First up is MLB Front Office Manager, which even though there was a lack of promotion and that may have been the first bad sign, I still had some decent expectations for. This game is $40. And, does it provide that value? At this point, it's hard for me to say it does provide the value, and the reviews for the game are showing that. Initially, I didn't want to believe these because you've seen with games like NFL Head Coach that sometimes these reviewers are just way off base. They're not the target audience for this type of game. So when the reviews started rolling in for Front Office Manager, I was hesitant to really put much stock into them, but the main gripes were that it had a terrible menu system, that the management aspect of the game was no good. So, talking about some of these things, which turned out actually to be true. The menus are set up terribly, and it makes it very difficult to actually progress in this game because you have to go back in and back out of several different areas of the menus just to complete a single task. You have to, if you want to put somebody in your lineup, you have to go in, set the depth chart, but that's after in a different area of the game. If you just acquired them, you have to put them onto your roster. It's just all over the place. They're not linked together. You can't see their ratings from the same screen as you can see other things. You have to go into different sections of the game. Very time consuming. I mean, it took me hours before I realized how to re-sign my own free agents because the game never told me how to do it. It's in a section called payroll. I mean, it doesn't exactly tell you that's where you're going to have to do that. As far as the actual management of the game, I kind of liked it. It's very simple. You don't have the ability to change what you set at the beginning of it at bat, but the speed it goes by is nice. It's going to take maybe 10-15 minutes to have a single game go through. And you get enough impact on the games that it makes you feel a part of it. But you're not, one of the biggest downside is probably if you decide to bunt and you get to 2 strikes, the guy's still going to bunt. It doesn't matter. You can't set him to change his mind. If you decide you're going to bunt in that situation, the bunt's going to be attempted regardless. But other than that, it goes along at a great pace, and you can feel like you're impacting it at least a little bit. The downside to this is that you pretty much have to manage every game if you want to have a chance to win. I had a team that was, as I was simming instead of managing the games, there was a point in the season where they were 1-32. And really, from what I've read, everybody is having this issue with the game, in that the sim engine is just completely crippling any potential success a team has. So basically you have to manage if you want to win, and that's not the point of the game, obviously. So the current Metacritic on MLB Front Office Manager is a 49, and I'd say that's probably pretty fair because I don't think this game is going to satisfy either the hardcore types who are looking for a management game more than just the text sims that maybe they've been playing, but with the visual aspect added in. But it's not going to please the casuals either, who are not that into it because it's not very intuitive in terms of the menus and having to manage every game because the simming is messed up. So that's what I'm looking at with MLB Front Office Manager, and in this case, the reviewers were pretty much right on about it. On the other end of the spectrum, we have 3-on-3 NHL Arcade, which is out now for both systems, PS3 and 360, $10. It's a downloadable title only, and this is basically, it is an arcade game. It's over the top in nature, and it's meant just to offer some fun. And because of the size restrictions, that are involved with being an Xbox Live Arcade or a PlayStation Network title, it's not going to have a ton of options, but you know that going in. So the key here is setting reasonable expectations, which reviewers have not done in this case. At least most of them haven't. The current Metacritic on 3-on-3 NHL Arcade is a 59, and you've got a lot of reviews coming in at about a 6 or below, and specifically GameSpot offering up a 4 out of 10, which was way off base, and I just kind of irritated me reading this whole review. So let's talk about the game a little bit. With it being $10, you know you're looking for value out of these games, and is it going to provide that? And I think if this is the type of game you like, if you like the arcade style, fun type of game where you're not worried about anything realistic, you're just, everything is just flying at you. It's quick pace, pick up and play, but there is some strategy involved, which I like, and it's a strategy that isn't frustrating. You can it's based on the type of players you put on your team, as well as use of the power-ups. Now, I wish there was an online team play version for online play. You can have up to 6 people playing, but it can only be 3 people in the same system versus 3 people in the same system. You can't have other people connecting in like with many of the EA Sports games. So that's really the only disappointment. But outside of that, a lot of the reviewers are knocking it for things like only having the 2 jerseys, the red versus blue. Well, I'm pretty certain that the reason there aren't NHL jerseys in there is because it just wouldn't have fit. The same thing with the number of players. Now, the players are pretty nondescript. I don't think there's any difference between any of the people who are considered strong, all-around, or speed. I don't think, based on their names, you're getting anything different out of them. So I just kind of play with the random, whatever team it sets me up randomly with anyway. Yeah, it's providing that though. It's a fun experience, especially. Actually, it's only going to be a fun experience against other people, but that's the idea behind it anyway. Online play is run extremely well. The downside being that I couldn't find a way to actually invite someone into a private game. That's kind of an issue. It's not very, very easy. There's people basically hitting X planning on hitting X at the same time to hope they get to play their friend in the randomly set up game. So, one thing I'm seeing a lot of, and this is kind of bothering me, is this sense of entitlement that are coming from reviewers, and to a certain extent gamers in general. But that's one complaint about this game is that it's not an added-on mode in NHL 09, which to me is ridiculous. That NHL 09 is one of the deepest games that's ever been released, and it's gotten the best reviews of I think pretty much it's won the most Sports Game of the Year awards. And now you're telling me that this should have been in that too, and for free. I think it's just pretty outrageous to suggest that. But NHL Arcade is going to offer, I think, for the people who like this type of game, and you have those expectations going in. You know what you're getting. You can try the trial out before you buy it. And if you know that, and you know the point of the game, you're going to enjoy it. And I think Team Xbox got that right with their review, which was an 86. And just they understood the point of the game, and seeing these low scores, and it's $10. How much value you're going to get out of the $10 game? It's not going up. It's not going to have things people are asking for. It's not going to have cutscenes and all the different jerseys and all these extra options, because it has to fit in a certain size to actually qualify to be a downloadable title. And as long as you understand that going in, I think you're going to get good value out of that one. So in this case, the reviewers were way off. So that'll do it for this video Padrecast. Thanks for listening in or watching in, and I appreciate everybody taking the time. Let me know if you have any suggestions or what you thought of this, and I'll look at doing more things along these lines in the future. So thanks again.